Hi, today we'll talk about DDN storage. DDN is a global company in the market for the past 20 years. We focus primarily on high performance in scientific computing as well as structured data management. DDN's product portfolio is based on hardware and software solutions. They are unique solutions for this market. We are innovators by design. That's the only way to keep the leadership in this highly technical market. Today, we power more than 60% of the top 100 largest supercomputers in the world. DDN's goal is to keep and improve the technical leadership on the high-performance computing market, but also ramp up the business on the commercial and enterprise segment. As we saw on the Seagate case study, the hardware margin for the storage providers has been decreasing over the years. We found a way to turn around it, which is basically became a software-centric company instead of a hardware-centric provider. As we can see here, the unstructured data demand is exploding. More and more enterprise segment is converging into technologies that it has previously only available for research and technical markets. As an example, AI and machine learning is invading the enterprise market, where non-structured data will become more and more demanding. DDN's advantage is the expertise and also the platform that has been optimized for the last 20 years for this type of market. The strategy is to move from a hardware-centric to a software-centric approach. Focus more on the customer needs and solutions than actually developing hardware patents. As Qualcomm, we do see a value on a hardware patent development. We've been doing this for 20 years. However, these days it became very difficult to compete against the market giants. So, the time and cost of an end solution is well better spent on a software development. The return on investment of a software development is higher than a hardware development these days. In our case, we are focusing on a software-defined storage solutions as well on a cloud-optimized solutions. In order to succeed, we need to innovate, promote profound organization changes. The company has been architected around hardware sales, and it's very difficult to change mindsets, as well move people from the comfort zone to an unknown territory, in this case, the territory of software-centric companies. However, the top-level management understand the criticality and understand the need of changing people, architecture, routing, and culture. That's the only way to insert DDN into this new market and increase the revenue and margins of our sales. And these changes will need to happen across the different product lines in the company. In this slide, I exemplify some of the fundamental differences on the product line that I've managed. On the hardware-centered approach, it will require longer development and QA cycles. Those are not adapted to smaller teams and usually require a physical presence of contributors. It is difficult to have remote teams. In the software-centric is basically mostly on open source software, requiring shorter development cycles and allowing teams to be geographically distributed. Sometimes we can even outsource development, reducing even more the cost. The DDN hardware-centric is based on commodity standards components like CPU, memory, etc. But it's indeed integrated in our plane. So we develop partially some of the components necessary to put this hardware together. So on a software-centric approach, the solution is based on an open source and is a purely software that requires more focus on quality assurance. The key here is actually qualify and validate solution on several different hardware architectures, providing choices for the customers, as well not needing large inventories. Of course, that we can actually prototype something as well for our hardware, but then it will be a trade-off of how much of the market will be willing to pay for a software-centric or software as a service kind of solution than actually a hardware solution. Currently, of course, we do this in both ways because we need to transition, but the solution is available for our hardware, but also for purely as a software solution. On a hardware-centric approach, we enlist the patent creation. But today, it's limited to a group of people that has been working this for long years. So most of the industry has been moving out of hardware-defined storage. So these patents kind of lost the value in the market. So on a software-centric, we enlist the customer-driven solution. We base on an open source and open standards, and we are limited to the common capabilities that the market offers, which is basically almost the same for everybody. And finally, the hardware-centric approach requires heavily integrated supply chain in operations for integration and packaging. So we need to get all these parts and put together inside the end factory, and for that we need manpower. We need people that work for manufacturing, and it's considered manufacturing costs. On a software-centric, we would require some specialized labor, of course, but that could be easily sold as professional services, and we would become a source of value creation instead of a cost. The changes start happening. The company has hired new VPs and new high-level management that is working on architecture and restructuring their routines and culture. We believe that those changes will affect directly the customers, providing a faster response time for support and also a better product time to market. Naturally, the willingness to pay in the software industry is higher than the hardware industry, and the development cost for a software is lower than a hardware development cost. Putting these things together will provide the customer a better solution and a superior product and a better experience. Finally, we believe this strategy will enable DDN to gain a considerable market share on commercial and enterprise segments on the era of the big data.